Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Melanin Margin, the weekly chat show where conversations about race are never off the table. We're your hosts, Quaviondre Williams.
And Daquon Wilson.
So let's get into this week's conversation. What's hot on the table this week?
It is officially Emmy season, and one show that has stood out in media headlines is Abbott Elementary, the ABC hit comedy created, produced, and starring Quinta Brunson, that follows Brunson as a teacher in a fictional, predominantly black school in her hometown of Philadelphia. Brunson earned 3 Emmy nominations for Outstanding Comedy Series, Lead Actress in a Comedy, and Writing for a Comedy Series for the pilot episode, making her not only the first Black woman to earn 3 nominations in the comedy categories in the same year, but also the youngest Black woman ever nominated in the comedy acting category at age 32. In addition to Brunson's nomination, show co-stars Sheryl Lee Ralph and Janelle James are nominated for Best Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series, and Tyler James Williams is nominated for Best Supporting Actor in a Comedy. The show has also earned an Emmy nomination for its casting. However, just a day after the Emmy nominations announcement, writer Christine Davis filed a lawsuit against Brunson and ABC, alleging that Brunson and ABC knowingly and illegally used Davis's work to create the Abbott Elementary television show. Davis claims that Brunson and ABC ripped off her show concept this school year, which she submitted a script to 2 executives at Blue Park Production in July of 2020, and the executives pitched the idea to Hulu, but nothing came out of it. Davis is suing for all of the profit that ABC and Brunson made off of Abbott Elementary so far. So, Andre, I want to know, what are your thoughts on the allegations of copyright infringement?
Um, so I don't know much about the behind the scenes or how firm the foundation of this lawsuit is, as the details are still being fleshed out and the case is still being built. But what
Right.
I will say is this. To any young artist out there in the world that have TV shows, movies, and books they have written, keep a paper trail, or because it's 2022, a digital trail. Keep receipts, keep timestamps, do your research on copyright laws, and make sure that you learn everything that you need to do in order to protect your work. Also, artists need to understand that you can't copyright an idea that you have not yet made into a tangible work. Like Stephanie
Right.
Meyer copyrighted her version of vampires and werewolves, but she can't copyright the idea of vampires and werewolves. Stephen King copyrighted his version of a fire starter, but he can't copyright the idea of a character having pyrokinetic abilities. This is why copyright infringement is such a difficult thing to prove without receipts to back it up, and proof that the accused person knowingly infringed on your copyright. There's also the
Right.
fact that sometimes, people can come up with the same ideas and even base stories off of ideas posed in other stories. But because there are just enough key differences, it's not considered copyright infringement. For example, let's look at Twilight versus 50 Shades of Grey and Friends versus Living Single. Now, even though we know for a fact that 50 Shades of Grey was originally a fan fiction of Twilight, E.L. James created enough differences in her work to escape the copyright laws. The same is true of Living Single. Even though we all know for a fact that Warner's Brothers Studio fully wanted a show just like Living Single, but with a white cast, and that's how Friends was born, they escaped the copyright laws based solely on the fact that they created just enough differences to get away with it. Also, let's not forget that school-based sitcom shows with teachers trying to create change with a slightly off principle is not exactly new territory. I mean, we've got the
Right.
Steve Harvey Show or Mr. Iglesias or even the short-lived CBS Bad Teacher, to name a few that followed that same format. I think that what sets these shows apart is the narrative voice of the writer and the intention of the show, just like in the case of Abbott Elementary. from what I can tell from the lawsuit details, there are supposed similarities, but I'm not a lawyer and I don't know the specifics of how close the stories are in character structure and plot, or who came up with the idea for first, or the story first, or who even copyrighted the story first. I mean, Quinta Brunson pitched the pilot in 2020, and then Christine Davis registered the copyright for her show that she alleges Abbott Elementary was based on during the same year. And then Davis alleges that she pitched the script back in 2018, but we also don't know how long Brunson has been sitting on Abbott Elementary or how long her story has been registered with the Copyright Office. I mean, there are just so many fucking variables and so many fucking factors to consider in this case. It's all just a hot mess, but I'm just hoping that this lawsuit is baseless or just some unsuccessful ploy to take down a Black woman, and Quinta Brunson Abbott Elementary can continue to keep breaking new ground and making history. Because if she knowingly stole someone else's idea, or someone in production forgot to cross their T's and dot their I's, it's going to be a shitstorm for everyone involved. I'm just hoping that however this case turns out, that the truth comes out, and hopefully that truth will be to clear and put some respect on Quinta Brunson's name.
Hello.
But Daquon, what about you?
I completely agree. I think that, you know, when I came across this story, I was like, oh, this is like a topic. Like, there's so much going on with it that's so complicated and detailed and complex that it honestly could be its own entire episode. But I think, like you said, I'm not a lawyer. I was a pre-law student for like a semester in college. I took like one class related to law. So I'm not going to sit here and try to litigate this because I don't have that range and I don't pretend to have that range. But from what I do know, copyright, like you said, is a very, very hard thing to prove. You have to prove very specifically that they had your script. They took line by line by line parts of your script, because you can't just say, oh, well, like my story was revolving around this progressive teacher trying to change the school system. Like, that's not something that you can really claim to be yours and completely yours, because
Yeah.
A, it's so many people's lived experiences, and B, like, it's such a common concept. It's an idea, not an actual tangible thing. Or even just the mockumentary type genre. Like, there's so many shows that follow the genre, like The Office and all of those different things, where it cuts to this like kind of documentary type thing. So even the format of the show isn't something unique and original to you. So it really comes down to what are the specific kernels of evidence that you can prove that they took your script and reused it line by line, or have exact characters with intense details, not just a progressive character trying to change or a wacky principal. Like, what exactly about the character is so detailed and so specific to your original idea that it cannot be replicated. So I think in terms of it, I agree. Like, I love Abbott Elementary. What Abbott Elementary did is something that cannot be replicated by just anybody. And I think that that adds a level of what it is to it, because I feel like Quinta Brunson has such a powerful voice in it. Like, you can tell how much she cares about this show, because we know that her mother was a public school teacher. The name of the show is dedicated to one of her former teachers. So she has had a hand in this and had so much to put into it. Not to mention everything that she's done in terms of literally raising money for supplies for teachers and doing a lot to take this platform that Abbott Elementary has and really give back to the teachers that she dedicates this to. But I think that, like you said before, I'm hoping that this, isn't just this baseless thing that's just like trying to tear, or I'm hoping that it's this baseless thing that's
Yeah.
just trying to tear down a Black woman's success, because I feel like having such a show receive such acclaim can really signal to Hollywood that this is how you do it. When you
Yeah.
want representation, you do it like this, because it's a great show. And I think all of its nominations are deserved. And frankly, the timing, I'm not going to lie, is a little sus to me. It's a little suspicious.
Yeah. What do you think that the Abbott Elementary will like inspire major networks to take chances on shows written and produced by BIPOC people?
I think, it really is going to depend on how this plays out.
Yeah.
I think that if, it's able to get the Emmy awards that it deserves, then yes, because it does something that a lot of shows hasn't have, and it employs a level of authenticity. The characters feel fresh, they feel like actual people, and you have a network that is really taking a chance on a Black woman, because let's be real, we don't see a lot of shows that are not only written by but produced and created by Black women in this entertainment industry. So having a show like Abbott Elementary on such a high level could be that, wake up call for Hollywood to be like, you know what? Let's do more of this. We want more of this. It's working, so let's continue to do it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. But again,
Mhm.
we've already seen this time and again where people of color and Black people show these executives that we will show up for stories made for, by us, and starring us countless times, and they still keep fucking it up. Like,
Ooh.
we're definitely heading in the right way, but we've still got a long ways and going to go until this is the standard. Like, I mean, we're not gonna act like Sneakerella and What If Miles Morales wasn't Thor. It still happened, very much so.
I know
And
you just did not say Sneakerella. Oh, you had to bring that back to my mind. I wanted to forget about Sneakerella just like I want to forget about Shamika Michelle.
but it's really frustrating to think this way, but it's sad because I don't know, Hollywood is still so stuck in its ways, and they still
Mhm.
don't think that we are that we are talented enough to tell our own stories. And it's just like they're seeing now that it's happening, but it's like, are they going to start giving us those? Are they going to start putting us in the writers' rooms? Are they going to start putting us in the director chairs? We have seen countless times Jordan Peele's success, Kiki Palmer's success. We look at Quinta Brunson's success. We look at Shonda Rhimes' success, and we look at all of these people who make shows about Black people and having led Black-led shows and being in these positions and showing that Black people or people of color are gonna support story. Even Shang-Chi, by the same thing, same concept, where it's like when we have leads in these roles, people will show up for it. But Hollywood still just does not or has not gotten out of the mindset that we are not enough.
Mhm. Right. I
And it
completely
just,
agree. It's something where, like you said, it's a step in the right direction. It has the possibility of doing more, but it really is going to depend on if Hollywood is actually going to listen this time, as opposed to the countless other times that we've seen this type of success.
yeah, and I think that what really gets me about this is that we have proven time and time again. I mean, even we look back on the earlier 2000 shows like Martin, All of Us, like these really big popping Black sitcoms that people really came out. I mean, Black people, we watched the fuck out them fucking shows, and people
Still to this
still
day.
to this day reruns all throughout, and we're still not seeing that same. I mean, even now, I don't know about you, Daquon, but that same boom of Black television is not as popping as it was back in the early 2000s. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? We've shown y'all that we show up for it. So why am I not seeing it everywhere else? And that also could be the fact that the streaming services are taking over or whatever and stuff like that. So I do take that into account. But I also look at the fact of how, a lot of these times we see the shows that are streamlined and stuff like that have their token Black character or token person of color character, but they never lead the show. They're always a secondary to the main white protagonist. And it's just like,
Right.
come on, y'all. Do better, bitch.